They say love is a grand explosion, a firework in the night sky. But after 50 years, Eleanor knew better. Love wasn't a roar, it was a whisper. It was the sound of a kettle whistling and the steady rhythm of a ceramic spoon against a mug. The morning ritual was their silent heartbeat. Eleanor carried the warmth of the tea toward the living room. Her steps slow and practiced, avoiding the creaky floorboards she had known for decades. There sat Henry, lost in a dream within his favorite armchair. The book on his lap hadn't been turned in over an hour. She set the tea down and carefully removed his spectacles. It was a gesture of protection, a small act of service that needed no thanks. A soft kiss on his forehead was the only alarm clock he ever needed. The world outside was rushing, but here, time moved like honey. By afternoon, the garden called to them. It was overgrown in places, a bit wild, much like the life they had built together over the years. Henry's fingers weren't as nimble as they once were. The marigolds took longer to plant, and the soil felt heavier than it used to. Eleanor sat nearby on the weathered bench, shelling peas. She watched him out of the corner of her eye, adjusting her pace to match his. They sat in a comfortable silence, a language they had perfected. Every pop of a pea pod was a syllable in a conversation about nothing and everything. Walking back inside, they passed the hallway of memories. It was a gallery of a lifetime, captured in frames of wood and silver. Eleanor paused at a photo of a young man holding a giant trout, his laughter frozen in time. That boy was still in there somewhere. She found him in the bedroom later, staring at two shirts as if they were a complex puzzle. The world was becoming a bit confusing for him. She didn't make a fuss. She simply reached out, chose the blue one, and helped him guide his arms through the sleeves. As she straightened his collar, their eyes met. In that brief moment, 50 years of history passed between them without a single word. Dinner was a simple affair. Low candles flickered, casting dancing shadows against the walls as soft jazz hummed from an old radio. Henry reached across the table and took her hand. He traced the lines on her palm, matching them to the ones on his own. "Look at us, Ellie," he whispered. "We've grown into the same person." She squeezed his hand back, her heart full of a quiet joy. Later that night, in the cool tile of the bathroom, Eleanor brushed her hair. The mirror reflected a face she barely recognized as her own. Henry stepped up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. He rested his chin on her shoulder, looking at the reflection they shared. "You're still the prettiest girl I ever did see," he murmured. Eleanor chuckled, the sound like a familiar melody they both loved. They moved to the porch to say goodnight to the sky. The air was crisp, and the stars were pinned against the velvet blackness. Eleanor pointed to the brightest light in the sky. "There he is," she said softly, "the North Star. Always steady, always there." She looked at Henry and squeezed his hand tightly. "You're my North Star, Henry. You've been my way home for 50 years. In the quiet of the bedroom, as moonlight spilled across the sheets, Henry spoke one last time before the dreams took over. "Thank you, Ellie," he whispered, "for the peas, the blue shirt, and all of it." It was a gratitude that spanned a lifetime. They drifted to sleep, their hands entwined, a final testament to a love that lived in the smallest of moments. Seasons changed, as they always do. The sun rose over the hill, but this morning, the world felt a little bit heavier, a little bit quieter. Eleanor stood alone at the summit. Her hair, now fully white, danced in the wind. She carried a single yellow flower. She placed the flower on a simple stone marker. For a fleeting second, she felt the phantom touch of a hand reaching for hers. A memory flashed to young Henry, full of life, smiling at her in this very spot. The love hadn't left. It had just changed shape. Back in the kitchen, the sunlight still hit the wooden cabinets. But today, the kettle only needed to boil enough for one. Eleanor poured her tea into the blue mug. She sat at the table and looked at the empty yellow-chipped mug across from her. She raised her cup slightly, a small toast to a lifetime of tiny moments. "Morning, Henry," she whispered to the morning light. "True love isn't found in the grand gestures we plan, but in the small, quiet actions we repeat every single day."